Ukraine never wanted this war. It's a criminal and absolutely unprovoked aggression of Russia, and the only one who wanted it was Putin. But in any case, the world is stronger. That is why the peace formula was born, the formula of unity of the world majority for the sake of peace, for the sake of the full effectiveness of the principles and purposes of the UN Charter, international law, and thus global security. This is something that is close to every nation in the world. That is why we have managed to bring together 101 for now countries and international organizations. For today, such number of participants registered here in Switzerland for the first inaugural Peace Summit.
You have the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Thank you very much, dear. Even if they are not here today at the first summit, we have succeeded in bringing back to the world the idea that joint efforts can stop war and establish a just peace. This idea will definitely work because the world has power.
Der Präsident der Ukraine. Die Statements werden in Deutsch und in Ukrainisch abgegeben.
Today the summit represents all parts of the world, all continents, different nations, both geographically large and small, every political pole of our world, Latin America, the Middle East, Africa, Europe, Asia, the Pacific, Australia, North America, all of them. The views, ideas, and leadership of each nation are equally important to us. And everything that will be agreed upon at the summit today will be part of the peacemaking process that we all need. I believe that we will witness history being made here at the summit. Thank you for your support, and may a just peace be established as soon as possible. Slava Ukraini.
Ukrainisch abgegeben und natürlich dann auch übersetzt. The statements will be given in German and Ukrainian. The press conference.
Die Erosion des Respekts für das internationale Recht schadet nicht nur Ihnen, sondern auf Dauer allen. Wenn wir einen Prozess in Richtung Frieden inspirieren wollen, muss irgendwann auch Russland einbezogen werden. Das ist allen klar.
Ein Statement abgeben. President Amherd will make a statement on behalf of the host country at the start. President, the conference is over. Thank you for your attention. Please.
Thank you. Peace formula is inclusive, and we are happy to hear and work on all proposals, all ideas, what is really needed for peace and what is important to you, dear friends. I urge all of you to be as active as possible, and I'm proud that all parts of the world, all continents are now represented at the Peace Summit.
America, Kamala Harris.
Thank you. If the world fails to respond when an aggressor invades its neighbor, other aggressors will undoubtedly become emboldened. It leads to the potential of a war of conquest and chaos, not order and stability, which threatens all nations. President Joe Biden and I will continue to support Ukraine and continue to impose costs on Russia. And we will continue to work toward a just and lasting peace based on the principles of the United Nations Charter and the will of the people of Ukraine. And let nothing about the end of this war be decided without Ukraine. By contrast, however, yesterday, Putin put forward a proposal. But we must speak truth. He is not calling for negotiations. He is calling for surrender. America stands with Ukraine, not out of charity, but because it is in our strategic interest.
Thank you, Madam Vice President.
We're here today to help bring an end to a brutal and unjust war. a conflict that has shattered lives and displaced millions. The echoes of Russia's war of aggression reverberate across the globe. Energy prices have soared, food prices have exploded, and it is a cautionary tale for the entire world. Is it right that a larger country can invade and take territory from a smaller neighbor? The answer is, of course, no.
This summit should not be a meeting of just friends. This should be a meeting of both friends and foe. To succeed in this positive trajectory, Russia must be on the table, number one. Number two, an American general, Norman Swartz, said, the more we sweat in peace, the less we bleed in war. It is time for leaders of the world to talk about peace, negotiate peace, work hard to build peace, and configure a global strategic framework that integrates peace as the sole means and end of human endeavor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am delighted to hand over the floor to the Chancellor of Germany, Olaf.
It is true, peace in Ukraine cannot be achieved without involving Russia. But let us not forget that, as we speak, Russia continues to relentlessly wage its brutal war. We all know Russia could end this war today or at any given moment once it ceases its onslaught and withdraws troops from Ukraine. To date, Russia has refused to heed our collective call for peace on the basis of international law and the UN Charter.
You can continue to count on us for as long as it takes. We will continue every possible effort to keep all the international partners engaged, as they are also suffering from the global consequences of this conflict. We intend to do everything in our possibilities to transform a future of peace and freedom for Ukraine into reality. Thank you.
It is my pleasure to ask the Taoiseach of Ireland, Simon Harris, to give his address.
I want to thank you, President Zelenskyy, Volodymyr, for your leadership, for your resilience right throughout this period of time. As we meet, the situation on the ground in Ukraine is extremely grave. Given Russia's relentless aggression, it may seem as if the prospect of a just peace is very far off. But it is important, nonetheless, that we as a global community are clear about the principles that must underpin it when it does come. We are all stakeholders in the global order, and the issues at stake in Ukraine are universal. Ukraine holds the same rights to its territorial integrity and sovereignty as the rest of us. If we do not insist upon it for Ukraine, we cannot expect it for ourselves. If we revert to a global system where the organising principle is might is right, the independence we enjoy today as free nations will be at serious risk. This is an existential issue. When I say us, I mean everyone: European, African, Latin American and Asian. We are all subjects to the rule of international law and international humanitarian law, and we must all be protected by it. Unfortunately, conflict in Ukraine is not unique. Across the world, we see instability and conflict. We cannot sit at a peace summit and ignore that reality. The world has rightly been horrified by the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. We must see an immediate ceasefire. We must see an end to the violence. Unhindered and unimpeded humanitarian aid must enter, and all hostages must be released. We have seen the horror and human suffering in Sudan. Millions of people have been displaced and dispossessed in places like Syria and Congo. In working to end conflict and to bring peace about, we must be consistent in our approach and loyal to the global rules to which we have committed ourselves. That is why it is especially dispiriting to have Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine characterised as something that should uniquely preoccupy Europe, that it is something that should pit the global south and north against each other. We cannot afford a rule in which double standards apply and where some are held accountable when they flout international law.